Police officers and first responders wear badges to let their communities know they are here to protect and serve. But it comes at a price. Samantha Horwitz and John Salerno work with police departments across the country to bring valuable recovery, insight resources, and workshops. A Badge of Honor TV brings those professionals to you so we can come together and revitalize communities through a better understanding of what's at stake and what's required for repair. So take a load off and turn up your TV. It's about to get real.
Hey, welcome to A Badge of Honor TV, powered by the OBBM network, streaming on all your favorite podcast stations and Roku and Apple TVs. This is Mental Health Monday with Sam and John. And we are getting you ready for your week, man, because we know how stressful the weekend can be. And we want to decompress for the rest of the week and get ourselves prepared. How you doing, Sam?
Doing great tonight, John. You know, we have got a fantastic show, as we do each week, talking about getting mentally healthy on every Monday. And, you know, it's been a huge wake-up call as watching what's been going on in California. Now, you know, they got fires every year since it seems like the beginning of time, certainly before you and I were born, this happens, right? But what has been highlighted is the stress and, frankly, the toll that these wildfires are taking on our first responders out there. Police, fire, EMS, everybody is included in this giant melting pot. And the thing that they're really distressed over is the fact that people, the chief of the LA County Fire Department is more focused on DEI than actually like fighting fires. I know you and I have talked about this before. We're sick of it because people die. Okay. The focus is on the wrong thing. We're done with the DEI crap. You guys have a job to do. Thank you, those that are speaking out, those first responders that are speaking out, that are stepping up, that are doing the job that they were called to do, because we've got to get rid of these people. This is a complete 100% failure in leadership. And there's no room for this when people's lives are at stake.
No, and you know, safe travels. Wish, you know, North Texas is sending some guys from Dallas, McKinney, and surrounding departments. Are sending some expert teams. So please, guys, on your travels out there, be careful. You know, one thing, and being a firefighter for 23 years back on Long Island, you know, the one thing, and this DEI assistant chief, whatever she is, the one who's in the head of, said, you know, when people are in a fire, they want to see people that look like you, that come to you and look like you. No, they don't. They don't care what, you know, and I've said this for the longest time. When someone's in need, they don't care who you voted for, what color your skin on, what your sexual and, you know, preference is. They don't care about that. As long as you could save a life, as long as you're there to save a life. You know, it doesn't matter if you're white, black, brown, Asian, it doesn't matter. Why are we bringing life-saving rescue into DEI? It's got nothing to do with it, you know? And that really hit something with me, because our firefighters, our police officers go running into buildings each and every day. They never turn around and go, well, is that a transgender family that lives there? Or is that a black family or a white family? Or are they Republican or Democrat? They don't do that, you know? And for her to come out and say that on TV, I thought was very disheartening.
It was disgusting. You say disheartening.
Every first responder out there.
Yeah, you say disheartening. I say disgusting, and it is a slap in the face to every first responder who is out there putting their lives on the line. And you know what? Our guest tonight, he put his I'll say his life's work and his background in a wonderful book, and we'll get to the book in a little bit. But Doug has seen a lot because he's done a lot, and his heart for service continues now. And let's bring him on to the stage here. Doug White, welcome to A Badge of Honor TV.
Good evening, Sam and John. How are y'all tonight?
Welcome, Doug.
Welcome,
Good, thank you.
welcome. Well, please tell everybody watching and listening on their favorite podcast app, because yes, we are a Badge of Honor TV, but we are still coming to you on your favorite podcast app. Just tell everybody about your background.
Well, my name is Doug White. I was raised in Central Florida. I enlisted in the Air Force way back before the turn of the century in 1993. Served my 4 years of active duty in the Air Force in Western Washington. And when I got out, I came back home and got into the active reserve and was assigned here at MacDill Air Force Base at Special Operations Command. While I was doing my duty there, I decided that plan A was to come back home and work for the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. So I applied, I went through the training and became a deputy for Hillsborough County. Let's see, 25 years to the day at the sheriff's office. We were very, very busy, and I did everything that I wanted to do. I was in field training, was in the training division. I was on the bomb squad for just about 7 years, and started climbing through the ranks. And I was a corporal in patrol, a sergeant in the Homeland Security Division, and a lieutenant back out in patrol where I ran a platoon on the night shift. My career, I valued my career. I valued every moment of it. It was wonderful. I learned so many things, and were it not for each of those lessons, my story would be very different here today. But traveling back in time, while I was working for the sheriff's office, I was still an active reservist in the Air Force, and I served a total of 14 and a half years, just shy of 15. And on 9/11, I was recalled to active duty for 37 months and 18 days. So I went back out to the command and got to support the SOF or the Special Operations Forces enterprise for 3 years there, and until I came back to the sheriff's office in late 04 and got right back to the business of being a sheriff's deputy. So I retired in July of 23, and it's been quite the experience since then.
Doug, with such an extensive background between the Air Force, the police department, getting back to what we were talking about in the beginning, did you ever once in your career go, nope, you're transgender, I'm not going to save you, or I'm not going to respond to your call? Did that even thought ever cross your mind?
None of those things ever crossed my mind. I mean, those things, no, never.
And you know what? 99.9999% of our first responders out there would never cross their mind either.
We're there to serve our public. So, yeah, that's it. We're there to serve our public and stop the killing, save lives, stop bad guys from doing bad things to good people. And no, I don't. None of that stuff ever factored into my mind in anything. It's a life of service, and I don't believe that anybody worth their salt would consider anything like that while they're working.
Agreed. I worked with 40,000 NYPD, and I don't think any of them thought that way either.
Yeah, you said your military service when you were recalled after 9/11. John and I were both there I was in Tower 1 on 9/11. John responded soon after for recovery. You mentioned, and people can read about this, your support for the special operations community. What did that entail in the Air Force?
Well, full disclaimer, I was not an operator. So Air Force has special operations, Air Force Special Operations Command. Every branch has their own, branch of special operations forces. Headquarters Special Operations Command here at MacDill is the overall major command that oversees all of that. I was assigned initially in 1997 as part of the security forces there at the headquarters building. So at that time, it was physical security, anti-terrorism, force protection, stuff like that. Well, on 9/11, then Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld said that all combatant commanders will have a protective services detail. For non-military folks or folks that aren't familiar with PSD or the personal security detachments, it's kind of like the Secret Service, but for admirals and generals and military dignitaries. So we didn't have that at the command at the time. So I was lucky enough, along with some of my fellow airmen, And we had Rangers, Green Berets, and some other Tier 1 folks come in, and we stood up the Command's first Protective Services Detachment. So we traveled with the bosses around the country, around the world, downrange, all of that other stuff, and supported his travels. So we were the bubble around the boss.
So you, for 25 plus years between the Air Force and in the first responders field, you were in a very hyper-vigilant, high alert status throughout pretty much your whole life since
for
since
31
started,
years.
right?
31 years, I worked on body
years.
armor just about every single day.
Now you're retired.
Mm-hmm.
How hard was the transition to move from being in such a hyper-vigilant state to, all right, now I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write a book?
I'll let you know when I get there.
Yeah. You know what? That is the perfect segue. We got to go to our first break.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll get right into this because a lot of people experience exactly what you did, Doug. We'll be right back, everybody. Stay tuned.
Forget Zoom, try Meetin. Meetin is a brand new video meeting service. And not only is Meetin simpler and easier to use and more powerful, Meetin also has the right values. Here at Meetin, we believe in freedom. We believe in privacy. We believe in America. And we are apolitical. Now, to get your free forever version of Meetin, just go to Meetin.com, spelled this way. And then where it says promo code, type in the word special. That's your promo code. Okay? So go to Meetin.com, type in the word special, and you'll get Meetin free forever. I'm Rick Raditz, and I look forward to serving you as a customer of Meetin.
Hey, welcome back to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam and our very special guest, Doug White, U.S. Army, U.S. Air Force veteran, deputy sheriff, and, 31 years of really providing life-saving efforts for not only your community that you served as a law enforcement officer, but for the United States of America. So we all owe you a great debt of gratitude, Doug. And, we talk about post-traumatic stress. You were at 9/11 and you were there for a long time. The things you saw, the things you had to deal with on a daily basis. You sat back after retirement after 31 years and said, hey, I'm going to write a book. Now, most first responders have a hard time even focusing, sitting down and focusing. What was your key thing that really got you to get down to a pen and paper or a computer?
Well, I had quite a lengthy off ramp when I first left the command and came back to the sheriff's office in 2004. I left my team, my tribe, my detail, and losing my teammates or leaving my teammates was a hard thing. But I transitioned into a paramilitary organization when I went back to the office, but it was different. And then, of course, moving forward, another 19 years before I retired from the sheriff's office, leaving that tribe kind of leaves a hole. I mean, you're this thing for 31 years and you wake up one day and you're not that thing anymore. So we have the constellation of injuries and illness that we will all experience. The PTS, sleeplessness, sleep disturbances, testosterone issues, hormonal imbalance, all of the things that come along with that. So while I was trying to unravel my the physical things that inevitably happen to us throughout a life of service, I was trying to sort out the mental stuff too. And I will be the first one to tell you that journaling, I was dismissive of its value, and I was self-deprecating in my response to it. And that people would say you should journal, and I said that doesn't work. I'm too lazy to journal. So I'm dismissing that and dismissing myself at the same time. But when I finally retired in July of 23, I did not know what I wanted to do when I grew up. I was 49 years old and I never had to work again. So what is that? So
scary.
Yeah, not really. I mean, it was kind of awesome, but still scary. What are you going to do? I mean, I've, full bore for 31 years. It's time to find something. I still have a lot of value. And but I wanted to sort things out. So I started journaling, and I found that the blank screen on my laptop didn't judge me. There was no ego. And of course, before I got to that point, there was reading, a lot of podcasts, a lot of positive influences that I was bringing in. I was uh, very selective in the things that I brought in, the people that I allowed in my circle, and the things that were filling me. Um, but I started typing, and I put words to feelings and things that I had never put words or feelings to, things that had bothered me that I never knew um, were, there was not even a shadow of those things. And here they are, full of life. And, one day I sat down with a cup of coffee when everybody went to school and work. And next thing I know, the coffee's gone, the garage door is opening, and I'm put down 10,000 words in a day. Yeah, it was pouring out of me. There were causes of reflection. There were times where I would step back. I think the longest point where I stepped back from the journal was about 6 weeks, just to really unravel some of the things that I was discovering. Um, and there came a point when I was 77,000 words into this, and this was just February of 24, and that's just over a 300-page, paperback book, and it was just feelings. So I put that aside.
Well, let me just
Yeah,
you were doing the journaling, because I know, like you said, journaling gets dismissed a lot, and it is a huge healing tool for so many. What kind of emotions came out while you were at the timer? Because I want to bring our audience into what you felt. Is that okay?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's all there. I mean, there's
I want to let
200
them know
pages.
that it was okay to cry in front of and break down as you're writing these words. What were your feelings? How did it come out?
I was like sawing my arm off, man. It was just
Yeah.
there were things in there that were very raw. I mean, I don't know how much a lot of your listeners or your viewers have actually read the book or gotten in there, but there's some rough things in there that were in my journal that I left in the book. But I was going through calls, looking at lessons learned, things that I could have done better. Um, I owned, I discovered, and I owned every shortfall as a deputy, as a leader, as an airman, as a husband, as a father, as a man, as a friend, as a son. I mean, every single aspect I owned. I came to grips with and ultimately owned every shortfall and every embarrassing moment, and I put it into this book. And the things that I learned from that 77,000 word journal um, is very different than what's in the book. The book is the lessons learned from that, and I was able to unravel a lot of things. I mean, there was a point where one of the calls that I unraveled in that, I pushed away for 6 weeks, and I planned where I was going to be the day that this certain person was released from prison. And I know that where you're going to be released from, you have to provide an address, and I know the date and time and how long it takes to get from that place to your new address. And I went deep and I went dark. In the book, I talk about a break that was actually my breakthrough, and I had to work on a lot of things, and I was dark then, but after retirement, I got much darker going through this, and it was bad. I had reduced myself. I mean, the guilt, the shame, the anger, and all of that experience. I'd gotten to the point where I'd reduced myself to a paycheck. I'm on this side of dirt because if I stop breathing, then my family doesn't get my pension. So that was my value through that process. I'm not there anymore. Obviously, I'm well beyond that, but that was part of the journey, trying to sort through all of this stuff.
Yeah, and the book is called Hiding in Plain Sight, and we're already getting some comments on the live stream here. Absolutely brilliant read, highly recommend. So thank you.
Thank you.
I will hold space for your darkness podcast. So thank you for that comment. And yes, it is a brilliant read, and like you said, the way that you're describing things right now, I mean, it is, when you're reading it, even the description online. It is, I'll say, one of the most descriptive and real reads. John's working on his book. My book is out there. And whenever you have somebody that it's like you're sitting next to you, Doug, or you're walking with you through these different things, you can picture it, especially if you're a first responder or veteran, in your mind as you're going through the book. And it's the detail and the way that you write that I think people will most appreciate, because there's no sugarcoating. And it allows somebody reading to say, hey, that's me, number one. Or if it's a family member, hey, that's my husband, that's my wife, that's my cousin, whatever it is. But also to get a deeper understanding, because we all suffer trauma. There's no measurement of trauma. Trauma is trauma. Our access to resources certainly is a lot better now than it was, when John and I were coming up through the ranks, where we didn't have a lot. And then your journey with the career and unpackaging is your journey. And it is deep, dark, and personal. And I mean, John and I want to commend you for doing it the way you did it, and the way you write. It certainly is phenomenal. When we come back from our next break, you had mentioned something right at the last break about the physical changes that you noticed in yourself. Let's get into that when we come back from our next break. Stay tuned, everybody. We will be back with Doug White.
Look, when you need to respond to an aggressive situation to protect yourself, your family, or your property, understanding your firearm and legal position are critical. Officers know your skills are only as good as your commitment to training. So know what you're doing. So when you're in a vulnerable situation, we can count on your response. Whether you're a beginner or a licensed gun carrier, Carry in Texas offers basic firearms training, Texas permitless carry courses, license to carry, and basic 2A courses so you can understand the responsibilities, situational awareness, and learn the technical skill required when you carry your firearm. Go to carryintexas.com to find the right course for you. Join me, former United States Secret Service agent Samantha Horwitz, on the range for beginner basics, LTC prep, and range practice. Go to carryintexas.com today. That's carryintexas.com.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor TV, powered by the OBBM Network, with John and Sam and Doug White, veteran, first responder, and now author of a great book called Hiding in Plain Sight. Before we took that break, we were learning some of the things about you, about the journaling and the one thing many people fail on, and I'm glad you stuck through it, Doug, is journaling. The healing through journaling is probably one of the hardest things to do, but once you discover it and you get past that certain point and you get that aha moment, it starts to flow a lot easier. Many people give up because of the distraction, because, oh, this is not working. You have to keep moving forward with what you feel and putting it down. And, once again, this is what happens is you get all your stuff down, and now you can heal others because they're going to relate to what you wrote. There's people out there, there's families and officers and veterans out there that are going to relate and going, wow. Even if it's just one line, they're going to say, I'm not alone. He understands. He gets me. It's the same thing I was going through, and that's where the healing process begins.
I agree, John. And one of the biggest things I learned through journaling is when I got done with that first round, I read everything that I had written. And I had written myself, I found out very quickly, and throughout the entire process, I had written myself as a victim or a bystander in my own hero's journey. And one of the bigger things that when I was trying to unravel each and every one of those things was, why am I speaking to myself this way? Nobody would ever, who knows me or has ever worked for me or worked with me, would ever think that. And why am I thinking that? I was a central figure in everything I did. I was never a victim or a bystander, and still not to this day. So there was a lot of unraveling that went into Hiding in Plain Sight.
Why do you think you looked, and you know what? You're spot on, because a lot of people do feel that way. Why do you feel like you did that? And what was that change? Do you remember that change, that moment where it changed over saying, hey, I'm not the victim.
When you, I don't want to use profanity, but when you
Yes,
own,
we're on TV.
okay, good. When you own your stuff, all of your stuff, every bit of your stuff, the ugly, the stuff that you don't want to admit, you own your shame, your guilt, your imposter syndrome, failures, successes. Once you own every bit of that stuff and you put it out there for everyone else, you become a whole different thing. You become I don't want to say empowered or powerful because that makes it sound a little weird, but
Freeing.
the freedom that you feel like, it's all there. I've given it to you. I want you to have every bit of me so you can find some of your story in mine, and maybe something that you can grab onto that'll bring you into the light and show you the way forward. And my way forward is not everybody's way forward, but
Right.
I'm hoping that there's a word, a vignette, a feeling, something in there that somebody can grab a hold to and just say, this is it, and sitting on those lessons learned and the things that I've been able to figure out about myself and sort through this journey and hiding in plain sight, they do me no good. Not sitting inside of me. If I can share this with somebody else, that's the purpose. That's the why. That's the mission.
That's
So,
the service. Yeah, the
Yep.
continued
Yes.
service. Absolutely.
Well said.
Using,
Well said.
yes, very well said. Using what we've been through to assist others. And I want to talk about the physical changes. You had mentioned when the time came, you're like, hey, I'm retired. This is great. And then it was like, whoa. Can you take people through that?
well, you mean specifically the things that were going on with me, or when I'm retired and now I have all this free time?
Yeah, well, with you, but like the hormone changes,
Oh yeah.
because we have a physical deterioration because of what we've been through. And if we're
yeah.
not aware of whether it's aches and pains that we've never felt before, blood sugar issues, the hormones, stuff like that, just so people are aware that, again, it's like, oh, I'm not alone. He had this too. I'm relating. And yeah, then what did you do about him?
I will. First, I have to say I'm not a clinician or not a PhD. This has come from a lot of reading and speaking to people. There's a book written by Dr. Chris Free. It's a study that was done in 2020. The book was released in late March of 2024. It's called Operator Syndrome. And it was a study of special operators and the things that were happening to them, both physiologically and emotionally. And what he described and what he found was the allostatic load, or the pressure that we're always under, high operations tempo, shift work, always go, 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 high emotions, hypervigilance. All of these things, he found that these operators who are basically elite athletes had hormonal imbalances, had sleep issues, were coping with either alcohol or pills or Ambien, all of the bad things. Sleep apnea, when you have obstructive sleep apnea at 33 years old and you're running 6-minute miles, that should not be a thing.
Right.
I was experiencing all of these things to a lesser degree than to a great degree in late 2019. I didn't have any answers to any of this until I started listening to more and more podcasts. And I actually heard Dr. Kirk Parsley speak about SEAL syndrome and started speaking about some of these things and the importance of sleep, which led me to operator syndrome and Dr. Free's study. Understanding those things and finally having a name. And operator syndrome is a bit of a misnomer because, again, I'm not an operator, but he talks about the allostatic load of people who live a life of service. So I was able to pull things out from that, traumatic brain injury. If you're a firefighter, you're going to bang your head on something in a structure fire. If you're a cop, you're going to be in a crash. It's inevitable. You're going to get your bean banged around. I was on the bomb squad for 7 years. I was a breacher. I used to think blast over pressure was cool and rock and roll. Well, not doing math so good. It's not so cool in rock and roll. But, all of those things that we experience, you're carrying a 12 to 18 pound gun belt around your waist for 25 years that's riding on your lower back. You're going to have back issues. You're eating meals out of a box or prepared canned chicken at 3 o'clock in the morning because you're on midnight shifts, and you're going to go to sleep for 3 hours at 7 a.m. These things are going to take a toll on us. And I was experiencing every one of those things. luckily, I found a doctor, and with his help and the information that I was finding, we were able to find a treatment plan. Um, a good, clean diet, paying attention to what you're putting in your body, in your mind, exercise, mindfulness, gratitude, grounding, sunlight. All of these things go into helping us. And, you can do all the journaling in the world, but if you're eating cheeseburgers and Cheetos and sucking down milkshakes or sitting on a couch, your life expectancy is going to be, it's going to be exactly what they say when cops retire and firefighters.
Right.
You're not going to make it to your late 70s and hanging out with your great grandkids.
Yeah, so true. And we say it all the time. It's like when we retire, we can't sit on the couch watching Judge Judy eating bonbons, But the hard part of that is that transition part is hard because, like you said, 31 years or 25 years, whatever you did, right? That becomes such the norm for you.
Yeah.
That lifestyle. And that's a long time. That's a long lifespan to be eating chicken out of a can at 3:00 in the morning. So it's the normal thing to, so it's not easy to break out of those habits. But once you do break out, like you said, the feeling, the freedom, the healthiness that just overwhelms your body makes you want to do more.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, they find their way through, hopefully it's not a health scare and they decide maybe I should do something about my diet and clean up. I mean, I found myself in 2021, I believe, or 22. I don't know. It all blends together. Now that I'm retired, I don't have to keep a calendar, but, I was on duty one day and I was in good shape running triathlons. I had run a marathon. Well, no, I was actually training for a marathon. I was in good shape. Everything on the outside was good to go. The blood work was off, but I was sitting behind a hospital on a Friday morning, actually, eating my overnight oats. Everything was fine. Not the first call of the day. And started getting tightness in the chest, started panting, sweating, radiating pain down my arm and up my neck and everything else. And called the sergeant and I said, hey, I'm just going to walk into the hospital real quick. And I drove over and walked into the ER. Said, yeah, I think I'm having a heart attack. They're like, oh my God, lay down. I'm like, nope, I'm good. Just show me to the room. And they did a heart cath and the doctor said, man, your heart looks fantastic. This is stress. There was no blockages, no nothing, no statins, everything was good to go. And I mean, I'm awake. They've got this thing in my arm and I'm watching my heartbeat on this cath, on the twilight dope that they gave me. And they kept me overnight. It was just stress. And
it's a scary moment.
Yeah. When you're 46 years old, it's scary. And, John, like you said, you kind of buy into the persona and all that stuff. I was overcommitted. I was super invested. I was all about the job, all about the service and everything we were doing. And I put it before everything else. And that's, again, when you start journaling, those are some of the things you have to own. It hurts.
Absolutely. When we come back, we want to talk more about that transition period when you put your papers in, you knew you were going out, and what you had to do to prepare yourself for that. Take a quick break. Be right back.
Leftovers again? It's time for something we haven't had in a long time. It's time for something right. It's time to make the right choice. OBBM Network TV is always the right choice. Choose right.
Hey, welcome back to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam and our guest, Doug White, veteran, first responder, and author. Before we took our last break, we were talking about transition. And probably one of the most hardest things to do because we're so conditioned to living one lifestyle, and then all of a sudden we feel we lose our purpose, our why. That S on our chest is no more. We're a civilian. They lock the door. And each department, each branch probably does their transitions a little differently. You had the opportunity, Doug, to have the transition from the military and the transition from law enforcement. Which handled it better? Because that means a lot to the person leaving the service.
I was going to say the answer to that's in the book, but no, I'm kidding. It is there. But when I left the service, it was, it was very different. I mean, the men that I served with and the women that I served with on my active duty time and reserve time was that was a whole different level. And I'm still in contact with those guys today. In fact, my old boss, I saw him Saturday night before last at a wedding reception, and I hadn't seen him in 20 years. And it was fantastic. Just to catch right back up immediately. It was hugs, handshakes, and it was great. But when I left the sheriff's office, I mean, I had a long off ramp. You know, I like I said, I valued my career. I loved my career until I didn't. You know, there comes a time where, you know, being a first responder has a shelf life. And I was rapidly approaching that shelf life. And I decided to prepare for the long off ramp. I went back and got my master's degree so I could teach undergrad. Spent a lot of time in front of a classroom, contracted for FEMA and DHS, and taught bombs and bad guys all over the country. And I wanted to teach people about the things that I enjoyed. So I got my master's, and I actually did an interview with the university, did a teach back and everything, and walked away from the table during negotiations about money. It just wasn't setting me on fire. You know, what did I want to do? That was the $1 million question. What's next? What are you going to do? You can't slow down. Guys like you don't know how to stop. And that was right. I mean, I thought about 10 different things. I wanted to get my MBA, but I don't need an MBA for what I wanted to do because I didn't know what I wanted to do. You know, get my PMP certification for what? You know, I could run a project. I did it for 25 years. So that off ramp was weird because you're trying to adjust to not having a schedule, not being on that roller coaster of hypervigilance and trying to decompress and hypervigilance and decompress. So what I did, luckily I was very, very blessed and very fortunate that planning financially and knowing that this day was going to come one day that I did not have to get work right away. So I had a buffer there, and I took advantage of that buffer and just was still for a while. And I had to sort through a lot of things. You know, who are you? What are you going to be now? Who are you supposed to be? You know, was this what you were always supposed to be or what you were always supposed to do? And the biggest thing or the biggest bit of advice I could give through my experiences was find a tribe. You know, you're leaving tribe, but you have to find somebody or some people that are like-minded who are going to fill you and who you can contribute to as well. For me, my tribe started at home with my wife, Michelle, and anybody who's heard me on a podcast or an interview or even read the book, they're familiar with all of that. Then finding people who wanted to see me succeed just because they wanted to be a part of my success and just to be a witness to it. And that's very rare. I would caution people to be careful for folks that are looking to help you level up. Again, be mindful of what you're allowing into your life and into your body, and find purpose quickly. Find purpose, because without purpose, folks like us, we don't last long. We get very bored and can easily find ourselves in a bottle or just sitting around waiting for the reaper.
And you have your experience with the time that went by and the purpose was lacking, and thank God. The big man upstairs spoke to you, put in your head, nope, I need to be here, because you, like me, like John, we were there, hands on pistols, and we were spoken to, and it is such a complete honor to share this time with you. And again, the book is it's hiding in plain sight. It is real. It is raw. And God bless your wife, Michelle. And your faith walk as well. You talk a little bit about faith. Mm-hmm. And, before I'm just looking at the clock here.
I got a quick question. What determined the name? And I personally can see.
That's where I was going. Yes.
Oh,
okay.
We're on the same page.
Yeah. What determined the name of the book? Yeah.
Well, initially the book was going to be called Tell the Story, and Tell the Story is actually the name of my company and the podcast, and the overall brand, I guess, is the term they use. But hiding in plain sight is exactly what I was doing for the better part of 2 decades. I was high functioning. No one knew anything was wrong. Michelle did. She knew bits and pieces along the way, but to all outward appearances, I was winning in everything I touched. And when I had my troubles at work and I came back and discussed everything with my platoon, they were shocked because they thought I wasn't at work because I'd been promoted to the next rank. So by the book, it's in there. So, just hiding in plain sight, that it came exactly from that. I was out in front of everybody, but nobody knew. And it's the perfect place to hide.
Yep.
And we wear the mask very well.
We do.
We really
We do. Well, there's an old adage, like like animals in the wild, they hide their injuries because, well, if they act like food, they'll become food. So we fear stigma, we fear judgment. We, are our own worst enemies when it comes to that and imposter syndrome. And, sometimes, unfortunately, it takes that pistol in the hand moment to realize that there's a better way to live, and this is not it. And
Exactly.
you have to step into the light.
Exactly. Well, we got to take our last break, and when we come back, I want to ask you to impart one of your lessons learned. Not all of them, just one of them.
Okay.
We'll be right back with Doug White. Everybody, stay tuned.
Rise and vibe with your new elevated morning ritual. Meet Rise by Frequency. Frequency-charged nutrition. Rise is formulated with a blend of 7 different organic mushrooms, B vitamins, amino acids, and green coffee bean extract. Rise supports brain health, performance, and focus while enhancing mood, mental clarity, and energy. Enjoy the delicious mango lemonade flavor while giving your mind the nutrients it needs. Get charged up with Rise. Fuel your body and mind today.
Hey, welcome back to
Oh, there we are. We can, welcome back. We got to talk about rising and vibing, because as we talk about, look, Doug has been talking about taking care of yourself and the things that he noticed, and your brain health is definitely something that you want to take care of. With Rise, it is, again, formulated with a blend of 7 different organic mushrooms, B vitamins, amino acids, and caffeine, not a lot, just 100 milligrams of organic coffee bean extract. No sugar, so it is absolutely keto friendly. Boost your mental performance, brain health, energy, mental clarity, creativity, motivation, concentration, alertness, and mood. It is my pre-workout go-to every single morning. I love it. Tastes super awesome. I never thought that mango and lemonade, especially in the wintertime, would be something that I look forward to. But let me tell you something. Once it's in, I am on. So how do you get yours? It is super easy. Go to abadgeofhonorhealth.com, and we put together some packages for you. Subscribe and save. That's abadgeofhonorhealth.com. Grab yourself some Rise, and you can rise and vibe with me and John. Now back to the show.
All right.
So we are back, and Doug, before we went to break, I asked you to share one of the takeaways, the aha moments that you had, that you put in the book, that folks can relate to.
One of the things, and I want to focus on the mental wellness or the mental fitness end of this. If you are experiencing something that's off, just know that you're not alone. These are normal responses to abnormal inputs, and don't wait for somebody to ask if you're okay. That ask may never come. Getting help, there's only one barrier to entry, and that's raising your hand and asking for help. So just ask for help. I mean, I could go on and on about leadership and moral courage, but I would rather just say, for the one person that needs the help, ask. It's going to be there. Just ask.
Amen. Amen
Exactly.
to that. What is the best way for people to reach out to you?
Well, I'm on all socials and all platforms. The best way would be my website, dougwhiteofficial.com. My link tree is there. Everything you can get that I've touched can all be there. The book and everything's there.
Okay, that is dougwhiteofficial.com. I got it up on the screen for those of you watching or listening, rather, on your favorite podcast app, dougwhiteofficial.com. I will say we met on LinkedIn, and Doug White on LinkedIn, super easy there. And you've got a lot of great information on there, some podcast photos that you've got up there. What are you speaking anywhere soon? Do you have other podcasts or shows that you have upcoming?
I've been at this for 2 months, and I've got my own podcast, Tell This Story, and
Awesome.
I did an episode today. I actually had Travis Gribble on today, so that was pretty awesome. And I was on James Gearing's Behind the Shield just
Yeah.
last week. That'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks. So I'm not speaking yet. I'm working on that, but I will be happy to travel and speak to anybody about any of this at any point in time. I'm waiting.
One more time with your podcast.
Tell This Story.
Tell This Story, and how do we find that?
It is, my website is there, but you can also find it on Apple, Amazon, Spotify. I got my YouTube channel and iHeartRadio.
Very, very cool. And what is it? Is it focused obviously on stories? Are you focused on a particular topic in that, or is it just people coming on? And
it's a first responder, veteran, and their families. I think one of the things that we're missing here is including the families in these conversations. They talk a lot about culturally competent counselors. My culturally competent counselor sits 18 inches from me on the couch and has been sleeping with me for 25 years. So including our spouses in this and our families in this is an integral part of us moving forward for all of our communities and for all branches. So I have responders on there. I have veterans. I have PhDs, clinicians, people in this space and people not in this space. So I have a segment that we do on bonus episodes, a guy that's still working, but he's a tribe of one outside of my house, and we talk about leadership and stuff like that.
hey, and what do you say to somebody, you talk about family, what do you say to the first responders out there? They're like, I don't want to bring my work home and share.
The people that stand beside us, and I get emotional when I talk about this, so I do apologize. And I know I'm looking away from the camera, but my book starts off with my opinion that the people who bind themselves to us and stand at an altar with us, who love us, are actively looking for ways to help us and be a part of our lives. They're bound to us and they're bound to our service. There is no one on this planet who deserves an opportunity more to be that person for us than our spouses and our partners. So get over yourself, communicate with your partners and your spouses, let them know what it is you're going through. And I'm not saying come in and do a trauma dump. Give yourself time to decompress, but communicate. Just communicate, be open with each other and allow them in. They're not going to judge you. They're looking for ways to help you.
And like John always says, this thing called social media, if it's a really bad night, it's probably made the news already.
Yeah, so your spouse probably knows about it before anybody else.
Exactly.
I was in an officer involved shooting years and years ago, and my sergeant asked me if I needed to call anybody. I was like, no, I'm good to go. And I realized my wife at the time, Michelle, and my very small children were going to be driving by the end of that street any minute because it's just outside of my neighborhood. So I was like, maybe I should give her a call and let her know why there's crime scene and helicopters and
what's going on.
And I'm standing in the street. Yeah. So social media wasn't really a thing then. I think it may have been MySpace, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing when we're so focused on the job, and we're in that moment. No, there's nobody I need to, because it's you're existing in the world as it's unfolding in front of you, forgetting that, like you just said, oh wait, my wife's going to be driving by where I am right now. Yeah. So I owe that phone call. And as I think Jeff shared in one of the workshops, when you make your phone call, don't leave a message that just says everything's fine, bye. I'll call you later. Bye. Yeah. Because they know it's not. Well, Doug, this has been phenomenal. As usual, the time has just flown by. Folks, pick up the book, Hiding in Plain Sight. Doug, I'm putting your website up again. It's DougWhiteOfficial.com. DougWhiteOfficial.com. And you guys on screen, you can see that. Again, Hiding in Plain Sight. Grab it, learn from it, realize you are not alone, and connect with Doug. because he's willing to have conversations, reach out to him, and you deserve it, and just make it happen and include your family in these conversations.
Yep.
Yes.
So
Doug,
thank
you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We will definitely be in touch, and hopefully you will sell out of all these books because it is phenomenal.
Well, thank you. They'll keep making paper, so we'll keep selling them.
There you go. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Right,
Have a great one.
Amazing guy.
Yeah, amazing guy, amazing story. Just a wealth of knowledge, not only because of his length of experience, going from the military, continuing his service in law enforcement, and then putting it all on paper, but really the big lesson is take the time to do the tough stuff, like journaling, like writing it out, because it does hurt. It does suck. And you and I have talked about that before, but you know what?
Yeah.
That's where the learning is, because you learn like, hey, maybe I need to talk to somebody about this, or hey, maybe I need to change a few things here and there.
And when you journal, it doesn't have to be in a writing form. Just throw up on the
just
paper.
type on a screen. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, just type it out. Because people go, well, I don't have the writing skills, or don't worry about punctuation or capitalization. You don't even worry about spelling. Just write it out. That you can, or type it out that you can understand it.
I think we had talked about before, even if it's just the F word, like over and over and over again. Sometimes you just have that.
I got to say one thing about Doug. He said he's 2 months in, and I tell you, if he goes on the speaking circuit, if he does do that, I got to tell you, out of all our guests we've had, that man has probably the most soothing voice and most calming.
We've had a couple, but yes, he's very.
He really brings you, and I can imagine him in front of people. He can definitely get you centered. He did a great job. Yes,
he did. Absolutely. We're so grateful for coming on and sharing his story. We talk about sharing stories. We have got 2 amazing events coming up. The first one, January 24th. That is a Friday. It is our 8-hour workshop. Hey, if you are within a few hours drive to the Dallas, Texas area, make that drive, register for our 8-hour workshop. We do it in conjunction, wrong link there, Sam. In conjunction with the Garland Police Department. Go to badgeofhonor.org. There's a pop-up on the screen. You can register for that. And if you are a member, or you head up the peer support program in your department, police, fire, EMS, otherwise, if you are a first responder, peer supporter, or you run a program, reach out to us, get in touch, because on Friday, March 7th, we are doing a peer support training, and really want to give a shout out to Todd Geary and the Overwatch Peer Support. We have been doing some debriefs, unfortunately, due to, we had suicide and the 2 line of duty deaths, and grateful.
I don't mean to cut you off, but did you hear this past weekend? And I'm sorry, I forgot to bring this up. Another Chicago retired officer.
Yeah,
this weekend.
It just continues, but they brought us in, and the practitioner that we have on staff, who volunteers his time with us, John Edmondson, he is absolutely phenomenal at what he does, and was so incredibly helpful, because it's not your normal debrief, and got a lot of great feedback. So we are bringing that. It's a 4-hour free training for those of you involved in peer support. So you can visit our website at badgeofhonor.org. Again, that is, go to our calendar. It is Friday, March 7th, and the ticket link is on there. So grab that now. Again, huge thanks again to our guest tonight, Doug White, to all of our first responders out there. Thank you for what you do, keeping our community safe. You have got a crew of prayer warriors, coast to coast, praying for you every single day. For all of you veterans out there, thank you for fighting the good fight that allows John and I to do a show like this every week. And for all of our active duty personnel spread out across the globe, they continue to leave every single day. There's so much stuff going on that is not being talked about in mainstream media these days. We have your safety in mind as well. God bless you, and thank you for keeping our shores safe. John, take us home.
To all the firefighters, first responders, military personnel that are headed now to California, our thoughts and prayers are with you. Stay safe. Keep the battle going. You guys are doing an amazing job. You're saving lives. God bless. For our people from North Texas heading out there, please be safe. And, anybody who is, part of that, we're holding you near and dear to our hearts.
We love you guys. Till next week. Take care, everybody.
A Badge of Honor podcast is produced for the OBBM Network podcast and protected under copyright law. For content permissions, please submit your request to abadgeofhonor.com on the content page. For OBBM Network programming information, please call 214-714-0495 today.